Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Zero Hour. Here are some final thoughts for you on the show we had today. You know, we're facing the Ebola situation where everybody's running around saying we need somebody in charge. The president has appointed an Ebola czar. But while all this is going on, the nation does not have a surgeon general. The surgeon general cannot be confirmed. His nomination is tied up in political nonsense. Why? Because this physician had the common sense to understand that gun violence is a public health problem. You know, we have a world out there, thanks to extreme right wing politics, where a doctor can ask you what kind of illegal drugs you take, but he can't ask you if you have a gun in the house. They will go crazy if a doctor asks, are there guns at home and are they secured from the children? But the doctor can ask, is there crystal meth in your house and is it secured from children? Hey, sure, ask me anything you want. So that's the kind of madness we have right now. And that's the reason why we don't have an attorney general, because this physician had the common sense to talk common sense about gun violence. Now, what he didn't realize clearly, and I wish he'd come to me for coaching, is there's only a certain way you can talk to a gun extremist, and you're confronted with the illogical, irrational, and emotionally overheated statements that gun extremists like to use. Here's one. You know, they'll tell you, they've no doubt said about him, he's anti-gun. I've been told I'm anti-gun too. I used to use guns. I don't have the heart to anymore, but until recently, I used to use guns recreationally. I can't bring myself to do it anymore. But it certainly was ridiculous to say I was anti-gun. So, as you may have heard me say before, I'm not anti-gun. I'm pro-kindergartner. I think after Newtown, everybody should be. And if common sense measures to reduce children's deaths are considered anti-gun, then from now on, count me anti-gun. And then what if they come to you, as they may have come to the nominated but not confirmed Surgeon General? What if they come to you and say, if we have gun control, only outlaws will have guns? Frankly, that's insane. That's like saying if you outlaw drunk driving, only outlaws will drive drunk. I can get a driver's license, but not if I have a history of repeated traffic violations, especially if I have a history of driving under the influence. Simple gun regulations are very, very similar to this. As Rush Limbaugh said, to characterize the idiocy on their side, if you have gun control laws, the law abiding will be the only people that don't have guns. Well, that makes absolutely no sense. If you lose your driver's license when you're arrested for drunk driving or too much speeding, law abiding people are still free to drive. So forget that. And then, by the way, the other thing we hear is that children who get their parents' guns and are killed as a result, or children who are killed at Newtown. When that subject is brought up, we're told that those children are, quote unquote, a distraction. And I quote from the Newtown debate, a debate I engaged in after Newtown, that those dead children are a distraction. Well, if dead kids are a distraction, what do you consider important? So we've also heard, by the way, that the distraction argument has even been applied to the parents of dead children, some of whom have been accused of terrible falsehoods and so on. Here's another one that I think the nominee for Surgeon General ought to understand. You run up against people saying, well, you're infringing on our Second Amendment rights. You remember the Second Amendment, don't you? The one that says that people have the right to keep a well-regulated militia and that the right to bear arms in that circumstance shall not be infringed upon. So next time someone tells you about their Second Amendment rights, in fact, I'll quote it for you. It's a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of a people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So the next time someone says to you, you're infringing on my Second Amendment rights, why don't you say, where are the other members of your militia? Who's the general? And which state exactly are you protecting? Oh, and by the way, congratulations on keeping all these psycho killers so quote unquote regulated, well regulated. You've got the Lanza kid, you've got the kid in Arizona, you've got crazy New York hermit dude, you've got the Columbine killers, you've got the Tucson shooter, and you got all the other members of your militia. Nice job regulating them, folks. So look, I guess what I would lead to is this. If I can't drive without proving I have decent vision, I shouldn't be able to purchase weapons of mass death after beating my grandmother to death with a hammer, which is exactly what the upstate New York killer did. So I guess I'll close it here by saying, dear Doctor appointed Surgeon General, I'm sorry you don't have the job yet. The nation needs you, but the political idiocy of this nation is standing in your way. I hope this has been a useful show for you. We've had Dean Baker talking about the misguided ideas that are still driving our economic debate, the special interests which lead people astray, and the big corporations and tech industries like Amazon and Google, and how they are distorting the global economy. We had Lisa Graves talking about the corruption process and how many governors are actually selling off the delivery of government services to private contractors who are doing a horrible job, ripping off the taxpayer, and by the way, in many cases, offering generous campaign contributions to those very same governors. We introduced you to Dr. Sanjeev Shriram, Dr. America, whose show will be debuting soon here on We Act Radio Network. We had a discussion with our good friend and spiritual guide, Reverend Osagyefo Sekou, about the situation in Ferguson, about what needs to be done, about the need for action in the streets now to stop the mass deaths of young African American men and the mass hijacking of our democracy, whether it's by paramilitarized police forces or about over the inability of people to express themselves in the streets. And we showed you some of the ads which are being used by Democratic candidates right now, which suggest to us that the political system is not offering us the kind of debate that we need and deserve as a people. A debate between left ideas and right ideas, a debate between the idea of economic justice and the idea of the rich people grabbing everything they can get for themselves, a debate between your interests and the interests of a few. That's the debate we're going to keep fighting for. That's a political system and the values we're going to keep fighting for. We hope you'll keep listening. I'm Richard RJ Eskow, and this is The Zero Hour.